Look at this nonsense. The CBC. People are somehow Superman fans these days, but don't know the first thing about Superman. Well, I don't blame them because the writers do not know the first thing about Superman. You know, being a writer is a job. You don't need to actually know anything. There's no test. You get hired and then you get to write. And Superman becomes like a VTuber and the writer gets to do and project anything they want on him. Like, for example, removing the fact that he is standing for the American way. Now he is standing for a brighter tomorrow. Okay. So, Tom Taylor says that Superman is a refugee who chose to be a journalist to champion truth and justice. In his very first appearance, he broke down the doors of a governor's mansion to stop a prisoner's execution, and his arch rival is a billionaire who wants to control the planet. So first of all, I do not understand why people keep saying that he's an immigrant as if it's a good thing. Take into account that General Zod is also an illegal immigrant, and he wasn't very good for the people of Earth. And, you know, if Krypton was real, people would be very concerned because we do have Brightburn as a good example. We have Homelander. We have Injustice. Lex Luthor is not that wrong, to be honest. Like, Superman is very concerning. And the only reason that nothing bad happens is because it's a comic book character and it's written in a way for him to not just realize, oh, well, why do I even care about these humans, right? So that is one thing, you know, and the immigration status. And by the way, like, you can't even apply legality to Superman because he's not human. Like, the laws of humanity do not apply to him. If anything, if someone were to kill Superman, they would not even be committing a crime because, again, like, laws only apply to humans. We do not have laws for aliens from outer space. So you can't really say that he's an immigrant because at that point you can also say, well, he's an American citizen because he's adopted. So he's legal. He's not an illegal immigrant like General Zod. He's a legal migrant, which was raised by the American way of life. But I guess another selective thing is to say that his arch rival is a billionaire. I mean, his best friend is also a billionaire, right? Bruce Wayne. Well, actually, he's a trillionaire now. So notice how they're doing this selective cherry picking. The reality is that Superman is actually politically neutral. He doesn't get involved in politics. There are certain issues in comic books where he is offered American citizenship and he doesn't take it. He doesn't support one political candidate over another. And the reason is because he stands for hope, right? He stands for family, he stands for people getting together, and he stands for hope. If he were to pick a political side, then the other political side would be hopeless. It's like, dude, the opposition has Superman, right? Like, it is the purpose and the essence of the character to remain politically neutral, or if he has, like, political leanings, to keep it for himself, so that the people that do not share his political ideas can still feel that level of hope. Like, let's imagine that Superman would be for guns, right? Like, Superman would be, well, I grew up in a farm, and my parents had guns, and therefore I think it's good for people to be able to defend themselves when I'm not there. If Superman were to think like this, people on the left would be horrified, because they'd be like, oh shit, well, you know, like, the other side has Superman. They would not have hope. Alternatively, Superman was anti-gun. That would also be, like, a very powerful force for the anti-gun movement. And the other, right? So it's important for Superman to be politically neutral, to not have, like, these firm stances on controversial issues that do not have a right or wrong. I know, like, modern day leftists, they like to pretend like, oh, well, there is only normality and far right, and normality is to be anti-gun, right? But no, and anyone who thinks like that doesn't understand what Superman is supposed to accomplish, which, again, that's the key word, hope. And there's actual proof that this is the case. I remember there was an issue where back in the day they had various superheroes talk about their favorite candidate because they had, like, a mock-up election within the DC with, you know, a fictional Republican and a fictional Democrat. And various individuals, like, for example, Bruce Wayne was for Republican, Arrow was for the Democrat. Superman abstained. Like, he refused to tell the reporter which candidate he endorses. And it's precisely that. And at the end of the day, it's not just about Superman, it's about the reader of the comic, right? If you make superheroes take side on controversial issues, you alienate half of your comic base for no reason whatsoever. Like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to say that, oh, well, Batman is a Republican or Batman is a Democrat. And by the way, Batman can swing either way, right? Like, he probably wants less taxes because he's rich, but at the same time, he probably hates guns. Although, interestingly enough, there are comics where he's actually considered to be the third best shot in the United States, because despite the fact that he doesn't use guns, he still goes to the practice range and uses it on people. But it's kind of funny because Pipkin Pippa actually stated that, there was this comic where it's like, this is where my parents died. And Pippa is like, have you considered that if they had a gun, they would be alive today? Like, that was really funny. But then, yeah, you do not want this level of like it's one thing when you have something political, right, that can be interpreted as such in your comic book, but it's another thing when you're bringing real life issues that are very divisive and they're very personal to the fans, and you're saying, no, like, your superhero thinks differently than you, right? Like why would you want the fan to start disliking the superhero is what I don't understand. Because, like, chances are half of them are going to be Republican, half are going to be Democrat. So if you pick a side, you're going to piss off the other. Why even do that? And this is why people are saying that comic books are political. And not only that, sometimes they're retarded. Like, for example, there is a recent issue where Superman is joining an environmentalist movement, and next to him there is a guy saying there is no planet B. Now, the reason they say this is because they actually took it from real life, right? Like, this is a slogan that people are chanting, but it doesn't make sense in the DC universe. In the DC universe, the man is standing literally next to an alien from Krypton. And secondly, in the DC universe, they know that there are other planets. And they know that there are other multiverses. So the idea is, like, there is no planet B doesn't make sense. And this is what people are talking about when they're saying, well, there's too much politics in comics. Number one, it's in your throat, right? Like, there is no right or wrong. Like, no, this is the correct thing. You're going to see Superman fly with a COVID mask and taking a COVID shot, right? Like, because there is no more escapism anymore. Like, you're trying to get away from real life and you go to comics and you see the same shit. And secondly, they don't make sense. Like, they push the politics even when it doesn't make sense with the lore. So anyway, let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.